And so that's what's unconstitutional about it, is that you're not dividing up the districts to represent the population or to represent where people live or something like that. You're dividing it up to skew the math in favor of one party. So what we have here, we are talking about this in the next story. This is Pennsylvania's congressional districts since 2013. There are 18 districts, and these are the major congressional districts. The opinion in this matter should be released sometime soon. I don't think this is the opinion. This is just the order. The Pennsylvania Department of State orders this 22nd day of January 2018, upon consideration of the petition, the Commonwealth Court's proposed findings of facts and conclusions of law, the briefs of the parties, interveners, and friends of the court, amici curiae, and the oral argument presented on January 17th, 2018, the court orders as follows. The court finds as a matter of law that the Congressional Redistricting Act of 2011 clearly, plainly, palpably violates the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and on that sole basis we hereby strike it as unconstitutional. Accordingly, its further use in elections for Pennsylvania seats in the United States House of Representatives commencing with the upcoming May 15th primary is hereby enjoined. Second, should the Pennsylvania General Assembly choose to submit a congressional redistricting plan that satisfies the requirements of the Pennsylvania Constitution, it shall submit such plan for consideration by the governor on or before February 9th. If the governor accepts the proposal, it shall be submitted to the court by February 15th. Third, should the General Assembly not submit a plan, or should the governor not approve it, the court shall proceed expeditiously to adopt a plan based on the evidentiary record developed in the Commonwealth Court. In anticipation of this eventuality, the parties should have the opportunity to be heard, to wit, all parties and interveners may submit to the court a proposed remedial redistricting plan on or before February 15th. Fourth, to comply with this order, any congressional districting plan shall consist of, pay attention here, congressional districts composed of compact and contiguous territory, as nearly equal in population as practicable, which do not divide any country, city, township, or ward, except where necessary to ensure equality of population. The executive branch respondents are advised to anticipate that a redistricting plan will be available by February 19th. That is a mere 2 weeks and 1 day from today, and are directed to take all measures, including adjusting the election calendar if necessary, to ensure that the May 15th primary takes place as scheduled under that remedial redistricting plan. Sixth, as acknowledged by the parties, the March 13th special election for Pennsylvania's 18th congressional district, which will fill a vacancy in an existing seat, which the term of office ends in 11 months, shall proceed under the original Congressional Redistricting Plan of 2011 and is unaffected by this order. Jurisdiction is retained. Justice Baer files a concurring and dissenting statement. Justice Saylor files a dissenting statement. Justice Mundy joins. Justice Mundy files a dissenting statement. This is the concurring and dissenting statement of Justice Baer. I join the order to the extent that it concludes that the districts are unconstitutional. I concur in the order to craft constitutional maps. I find myself in the awkward position regarding the directive that the primary election shall proceed with the new maps. I understand that the court's desire to follow this schedule, as it is arguably counterintuitive to believe that the current map is unconstitutional, and nevertheless, should its usage proceed, etc. There are other forces at play. When faced with an unconstitutional map, courts should determine whether the imminence of the primary and general elections require the utilization of a prior plan, notwithstanding its invalidity. I believe the dangers of implementing a new map for the May 2018 primary risks serious disruption of orderly state election processes. It is naive to think that disruption will not occur. Prospective candidates, incumbents, and challengers have been running for months, organizing fundraising, seeking their party's endorsements, determining who should be canvassing, and telephone lists, as well as undertaking the innumerable tasks implicit in any campaign, all with a precise understanding of the districts with which they are to run. The change in district's boundary line could result in candidates and challengers alike no longer living in districts where they've been carrying out these activities for a year or more. I get it, to which I say, don't be operating under clearly, palpably, right? I mean, clearly, what was it here? Clearly, plainly, and palpably violates the Constitution. The Supreme Court of the state said that it clearly violates the Constitution. So that's the other argument there for me. Finally, I do not favor the alternative of moving this year's primary election. It has been the tradition to hold a spring primary and fall general in Pennsylvania. The lieutenant governor, senators, etc. We cannot determine the impact of moving the primary election. I am uncomfortable with the risk. Okay. So she dissents because she's uncomfortable with the risk. Justice Mundy dissents. He joins the sailors' dissenting statement in full. I write separately to express my concern with the vagueness of the court's order. Despite its pronouncement that the 2011 map clearly, plainly, palpably violates the Constitution, the court fails to identify the specific provision it so violates. I get that, Justice Mundy, but this is an order. The opinion will come down later. And you're on the court, you could ask them for their opinion. And then here is Justice Saylor's dissenting statement. Consenting with my previous vote disfavoring the assumption of extraordinary jurisdiction, I agree that the Commonwealth Court's original position that it would have been appropriate to stay this matter pending anticipated guidance from the Supreme Court of the U.S. in Gill v. Whitford. The Supreme Court has stayed a series of recent federal court directives to state legislatures in cases lodging partisan gerrymandering challenges pending its review, most recently as of last week. I hold the view that restraint is appropriate, particularly in light of the timing of the present challenge to the Congressional Redistricting Plan that was enacted in 2007 and the proximity of the impending 2011 election cycle. So let's take a look at what the justices had voted on and see if we agree or not. Remember, they said that it clearly, plainly, palpably violates the Constitution, which requires that congressional districts be composed of compact and contiguous territory as nearly equal in population as practicable, which do not divide any county, city, incorporated town, borough, township, or ward except where necessary to ensure equality of the population. That's the order. If I recall correctly, the Constitution says this first part, compact and contiguous, nearly equal in population. So then, this is the Wikipedia article on the 18 congressional districts in Pennsylvania. Here is the first congressional district. It seems to go along the Delaware River along Philadelphia. Here is the second congressional district. That seems to be just a block of Philadelphia. Great. Third congressional district is kind of an L shape, sort of taking up Erie and then heading south. It doesn't go east for any reason, even though Erie's right there. I don't know. Here's a District 4. This looks like a kind of a triangular or trapezoidal block. Great. Here's District 5. Looks kind of like Idaho. Kind of wondering why there's this little thing popping out over here, or this little thing popping down here, but whatever. Maybe there's some reason. Here's District 6. Oh, this is weird. This is near where I live, Montgomery County. Allentown's up here. So you've got this swath of Philadelphia. That's its own thing. And then this tiny connector. And then this other swath over here going out west to Lebanon, which is on its way to Harrisburg. The 7th Congressional District. What the hell? This one is actually called, it has a name. This is called Goofy Kicking Donald Duck. And I don't even know. Seriously, I don't even know how you can call this compact and contiguous. Does it fit some threadbare definition of contiguous here and here? Yeah. But is it compact? No. Is it compact and contiguous? No. Are they nearly equal in population to others? Probably. That's probably how they do this. But that's ridiculous. Here's District 8. That actually looks like a block. Okay, great. Here's District 9 with it's a C. It's got a whole section cut out of it. That's not like one big city or something. What is that? Here's District 10 going all the way down to Harrisburg, which is the middle of the state, and all the way up to the north part of the state. This is a huge state. It takes 4 hours to drive from the bottom part of the state to the top part of the state. With three hours to drive from the bottom part of the state to the top part of the state. And it goes all the way over to the edge of New Jersey and New York. Here's District 11. I mean, at least that's contiguous. But again, it surrounds Harrisburg and then goes all the way out to Scranton, which is again in the eastern part of the state. Here's District 12. It looks like a hammer. It goes past Pittsburgh and all the way out to Altoona, which is where Penn State is. Here's District 13 in Philadelphia, which is not just a C, it's an E or a 3. It's got fingers, and then this part's nice and thick, extending into northern Philadelphia. District 14 looks like a blob with an arm. It's got an arm up here for some reason. District 15 at least looks like a little bit of a block. This has Lehigh, Allentown, this is my district, but it extends all the way out the 78 corridor, which is a major highway, all the way out to Harrisburg. I can tell you from my experience, these westerly voters are more Republican, and this block here is more Democrat. It's just weird that it's drawn so that like arbitrarily. Here's one that looks like a C, but it looks more like the peninsula, the Yucatan Peninsula, and the body of Mexico. This takes up all of Reading, basically. Oh, that's what it is. Look at this. It takes up Reading up here, and then goes all the way down here to the southern bottom, the southern edge of Pennsylvania, and back up into Philadelphia near Chester. It gets Reading and then all the way down. What the hell? District 17. I mean, I'm saying what the hell, but we know why, right? Let's take a look at that in a moment. So District 17 there, similar. It's got these arms and stuff into. This is north of Allentown, north of near me. This is the Appalachian Mountains here, and then it goes all the way up into Scranton. It's got like this arm up into Scranton. So major metropolitan area up here, then boonies down here. So it's weird that they want to pick up the boonies and then also pick up the city. This one goes around parts of Pittsburgh and off into the boonies again. It's like an entirely rural district. So what happened in the last election was this. Even though 53 or 4% of the state voted Democratically, blue, only 5 of 18 districts went for the Democratic side of the political spectrum. And this would be equally wrong if the colors were reversed here. If there were anyone who's not familiar, this is the best one, the best diagram that had to explain gerrymandering. Now it uses the red versus blue analogy here. It happens to apply in this case, but again, this is wrong no matter which side does it, and I'm not this story is not to lambaste Republicans or whatever. This story is to talk about gerrymandering. So imagine a scenario where you have a 60% blue state and a 40% red state. There's a way that you can get this scenario to win for red by gerrymandering, basically. If you did this kind of perfect representation where you divided up these districts this way, you'd get 60% blue districts and 2 red districts, right? If you divided it up where where each district was 60% blue and 40% red to represent the population, that would be somewhat unfair, but would at least represent everybody equally. So what they do here is they draw them like this, taking up a number of reds, so 60% here and 40% here, and then 60% here and 40% here, and then 60% here and 40% here. So now you have 3 winning red votes. And blue, they just take up all. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 blue in each of these, only 1 red in each of these districts. Therefore, these win by a landslide, but you lose a district. And therefore, red therefore wins the state. And so that's the debate that we're talking about in this kind of thing. It's not... It's this partisan gerrymandering is a way for the people who draw the map to draw the map in favor of their party or themselves. And so that's what's unconstitutional about it, is that you're not dividing up the districts to represent the population or to represent where people live or something like that. You're dividing it up to skew the math in favor of one party. And that seems unfair, undemocratic, un-Republican even. So I don't know why people would think that that's an okay thing to do. The state Supreme Court thinks that that's what happened, clearly, palpably, and in violation of the Constitution.